The advice that I'm about to share with you today could save you not only years of your life, it could literally save you a decade, maybe two. And this advice can apply to anybody at any stage of their life, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, or even if you're, kind of an old person. No offense. But please, if you are lucky enough to be between the ages of, let's say, 18 to 21 years old, I think you've just won the lottery here. I think you've just gotten your lucky video. Because honestly, if I had had a video like this when I was in my early 20s, even late teens, it actually makes me kind of sad to think about all the potential that I feel as though I've wasted. And the regrets that I feel, they're not fun. And my hope for you today is that I can somehow spare you some of those years that I had to go through, those years of wasted potential, those years of regret, and the years where I could have honestly been so much more. Because a few days ago, I was trying to get my Facebook account running. And if any of you are still on Facebook, you know that it's like overrun by old people at this stage. But I haven't used my Facebook in years. And I actually kind of temporarily deactivated it for a while because I thought, I'm not really using it. There's so many embarrassing pictures and videos of me from when I was like 14, 15. And so I thought, let me just get this off the internet. And then I thought, I'd like to kind of get it running again, just get it back up, maybe give it a clean here and there, maybe even post videos like this to the page. Until I started going through all of my old photos and my old videos and my old posts. And it was a lot, bro. It really was quite a lot to kind of take in, And as I went through the thousands of photos and videos and just memories, right? I feel as though I experienced one of the worst types of pains that you could ever experience in life. And no, I'm not talking about the pain of heartbreak. I'm not talking about the pain of loss. I'm not even talking about the pain of embarrassment, because it was pretty embarrassing. Let's be honest. Like I said, there was some stuff on there that I was just cringed at. It was terrible. But no, I felt a pain that I honestly believe is possibly the worst pain you could ever experience. And that, my friend, as mentioned, is the pain of regret. I experienced something that I never thought I'd ever experience looking back at those memories. And it was simply the fact that things seemed so much better looking back on those moments now that I'm out of those moments, right? Looking back gave me such a sense of clarity. It was though I could finally see things as they really were instead of how they felt at the time. But looking back at these photos, I thought to myself, you were so much better looking than you thought you were. Like, you didn't look as bad as you believed that you did. And that made me ask my past self, right? I asked myself, why was I so afraid of talking to girls? Why was I so scared of approaching people and making new friendships and asking girls out, right? Or doing the things that I knew I wanted to do back then. But I was so embarrassed of the way I looked, the way I sounded, the way I was as a person, as a young person. I was so afraid that I didn't take any risks. And it just made me wonder, why didn't I use my youth to the fullest when I had it, right? And you're probably watching this video looking at me like, is this guy blind or something? Like, he's pretty young, right? And yes, I am young enough, right? I'm not super young anymore, but I am young and I'm super grateful for that. But at the same time, I feel like no matter how young you are, you could always look back and think to yourself, man, like if I only had realized that things weren't so bad back then, right? If I'd realized that I could have been so much more, I wouldn't have wasted so much time. I wouldn't have wasted so much of my potential, and I would have done things better. Because the honest truth is that just like everybody else, I've made some pretty stupid mistakes. I have wasted time with the wrong people. I got involved with things that I shouldn't have been involved with, and I just let myself down. And I genuinely feel a huge longing to go back and set things straight, do things the way that I should have done them, as the man that I believe I am becoming now. But unfortunately, for all of the Back to the Future fans, my name is not Marty McFly. I cannot go back to the future. I don't have a friend named Doc, at least as far as I know. I don't think so. But looking through those photos, I did realize something unbelievably important. And that is the fact that even though, yes, I can never go back and fix the mistakes that I've made, I could never go back and reclaim that wasted potential, there is something that I can do. Firstly, I can be so grateful that I've learned these lessons, these hard lessons, so that hopefully now, being still somewhat young as I am, I can go into my future and finally do things right, do things the way I should have done them from the beginning. But even more importantly, I feel as though I have a golden opportunity to help you watching this video today, share some of the mistakes I've made, share some of the lessons I've learned along the way, with the absolute hope that somehow this message sticks with you and you don't have to be some random guy on YouTube 10 years later telling other people about the mistakes he's made. So if my mistakes and my mess ups and my pain can help you in any way, I'd really like to share those lessons with you today in the hopes that you use your precious, valuable time and potential so much better than I ever did. And even though, yes, I know we all come from a variety of different backgrounds and stories and experiences and moments, I feel as though there are some very human level lessons that I can give you that honestly could apply to pretty much 99% of people, if not everybody. And so step number one, or advice one, I guess, I don't know how to put that, but number one is don't allow love or infatuation to totally derail your life. When you are young and you are good looking and youthful and full of hormones, got some awkward teenagers watching this right now being like, shut up, bro. But like when you are young and you are finally interacting with the opposite sex, right? You will feel some unbelievably strong emotions and you will meet people that honestly knock your socks off, especially when it comes to your first love, right? But it's not even your first love. You could experience somebody that knocks your socks off at any stage of your life. And honestly, I wish that for you. I really do. But even though love is probably the most wonderful and beautiful and pure emotion you could ever experience in your entire life, I truly am of the belief that it could be the most dangerous, if not simple way to fuck up your life. And as the young kids of the day would say, if you do not allow canon events to naturally take their place and happen, right? If you do not allow your heart to get broken, because it will get broken 99% of the time. You are going to meet somebody, you're going to absolutely be so over the moon about this person, and they're going to break your heart. They might leave you. But if you're like me and you hang on to this person for 2, 3, 5, maybe even 10 years. And don't laugh at that because it genuinely happens more often than you realize. If you do not allow yourself to let go of people in your life, when their time is naturally up, when the relationship has run its course, I can't even explain how much that can wreck, like honestly wreck your life and waste years of your happiness and your potential. When I was 18 years old and a lot more foolish, I was madly in love with my first love. And even though I experienced some incredible joy within those few years of us being together, and I honestly thought we were going to be that high school sweethearts relationship, you know, get married and have kids, and she'd be the one right off the bat, right? Unfortunately for me and for many other people, the canon event took its place and we ended up breaking up. And when I say that I spent a ridiculous, like totally bizarre amount of years getting over that relationship, and I allowed the relationship to totally stop me in my tracks, I let it ruin me for a long time. And as beautiful as first love can be, or any love can be, if you do not deal with the breakup in a healthy, mature, and smart way, you could honestly end up with so many problems. You could end up with an addiction. You could end up never trusting people ever again, especially if you got cheated on. And that is a very unfortunately common occurrence nowadays, especially with young people. And more importantly, you'll block yourself off not only to other wonderful human beings that could love you and be so much better for you, but you'll block yourself off to experiences, to moments, to enjoying your youth. Because as I said, you could literally fall in love at 21, 22, maybe even younger. And if you spend that 10 years getting over that one ex, you've literally just wasted your entire 20s on one person. Sounds bizarre, but it happens all the damn time. And when I went through my first breakup and my first true heartbreak, I allowed the most dangerous, most messed up, and possibly the biggest mistake to happen to me. And this is the one that I really want you to write this down, take notes, just plaster it in the back of your mind, because this is the big boy. This is the one thing that really would have saved me a lot of time. But when I was going through my breakup, instead of, like I said, coping with it in a healthy way, hitting the gym, getting my work together, getting myself together, I ended up relying on a crutch. And that crutch goes by the name of alcohol. Step number 2, is do not allow a substance, whether that's alcohol, cocaine. I'm not going to say all the words because I'm already probably demonetized, but you know what I'm saying? Mainly alcohol, the white snow. What else? Weed is a big one. Doesn't matter what it is. Do not allow a substance to give you any type of comfort or any type of escape, because that escape is what will destroy your life. I can promise you that with everything that I am. When I went through my breakup, I immediately reached for the bottle because I was in university and that's what everybody does. And it was fun. And I didn't ever think anything major of it. It's just drinking, bro. It's just a little bit of fun. And at first it starts out that way. I'm just having a few drinks to get away from the pain, just for a little while, right? But here's the problem that you don't even realize. When you give yourself an out, even for 2% of the time, 5% of the time, you have metaphorically cut a hole in your sail on the boat of your life. And what happens when there's a little slit on any kind of fabric or any sail, especially on a boat? That sail and that split starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And you start finding more excuses to use it and more excuses to escape and more excuses to run away from your problems until the sail has completely split open and you find yourself in a sinking boat. Your life is going under. When I say that alcohol could have absolutely ended my life, it could have robbed me of every joy, of every moment, of every pleasure, and everything that I am, I truly mean that. Because drugs, alcohol, and any substance will not only rob you of things, right? It will not only rob you of your fitness and your health, of your relationships, because you become selfish eventually. It will not only rob you of your ability to work hard and to pursue the things that you really want to pursue. Worst of all, it'll rob you of this. It'll rob you of your mind and your clarity. It'll make you so emotionally unstable that you will not be able to be present. You will not be able to deal with anything. I went from a person that honestly could have dealt with anything. I went from a high achieving individual who killed it at school, who did a multitude of sports, who had so many friendships, who could deal with stress. And within a few years of just drinking here and there to get over this so-called ex, right? I fell into such a pit of helplessness that I couldn't even deal with basic conversations at some stage. I was literally battling to deal with the fear of speaking to another person because I had allowed myself to rest so heavily on this crutch for so long that I forgot and totally lost who I was. I have been sober for 1 year now, and the change in my life has been unbelievably remarkable. I have become a whole new person in 1 year. But you know what makes me sad? Is the fact that I've literally just wasted probably 6 or 7 years not becoming this person that I am right now, not having this peace of mind, this clarity, this happiness, this wholesomeness of emotional self-regulation. That's a lot of damn words, but you get what I'm saying? Man, just listen to me, bro. If you do anything with this video, do not ever rely on a substance or any escape. And we could honestly even expand this to more things. Don't just think about alcohol, drugs and stuff. Think about any addiction, whether that's your addiction to work, whether that's your addiction to relationships. If you can't be by yourself, identify the addiction or the crutch in your life and ask yourself the question, why am I relying on this so heavily? Because as soon as you take away that crutch, you take away the drug, the addiction, you're left with the problems in your life. And guess what? You're not going to sit there with those problems forever. You're eventually going to get sick and tired of living in that situation. You're going to get off your ass and you're going to put in the work to fix your life. And then you realize after all this time, all this wasted potential, that your life was pretty amazing. And literally on the other side of 5, maybe 10 problems, not even that big of problems half the time, you live a life so beautiful and so lovely and so fun that you didn't need the substance in the first place. And I'm so sad that it took me so many years to finally come to that unbelievably profound revelation and realization. If you can look in my eyes and just see the pain I feel for all that time that I wasted, bro, take my advice. Take my advice. It'll save your life. Yeah, let's move on because that one's getting a bit emotional. Let's move on to point number 3. Step number 3. If you are talented, and you're probably a lot more talented than you even realize, fuck your talent. Fuck your talent. And I mean that when I say that. And you're like, bro, relax. But genuinely, fuck your talent and forget your talent. Because if you rely on that talent and you don't realize that it actually takes work to get to where you want to be, you will literally just be nothing but wasted talent. And you will be that 27-year-old guy, maybe even early 30s, maybe even 40s and 50s. You might be that guy or that girl that sits there and thinks, wow, I had so much potential and I honestly wasted it because I did not develop the skill of discipline, the skill of doing the work every single day, showing up with consistency and effort, despite how talented I am and despite the way I feel. So if you are talented, discipline from this moment on is your number one priority. No discussion. I don't want to hear it. That is your priority right now. Discipline. I literally just rested on my laurels and I rested on my talent. And if you want to put it into children's tales, I became the hare with the tortoise and the hare. I ran half the race with my talent and with my ability. And I thought, you know what? I'll take a nap here. I don't need discipline like these runts, right? Like these people that need to work hard. I can get along just fine. And I woke up at 27 and I realized that the rabbits had won the race because they had developed the most important skill that you could ever develop in your life. Other than self-awareness, maybe even self-compassion, self-discipline, it'll save your life. A strong man puts his feelings aside. He doesn't get rid of his feelings. He doesn't force them down. He doesn't act out of emotional pent-upness, if that even makes sense. A real man does the job despite the way he feels every single time. And for step number 5, I'm going to quote the very controversial Gary Vee for this point. Love him or hate him, I think he makes a very valid point. And that is to realize how much time you actually do have. But again, going back to the previous points, just because you've got time, just because you're young and you've got all this time to fail and to love and to experience, just because you have time, and you should remember that it's a gift to have that time, it doesn't mean that you need to be squandering it and using your 20s as this big giant party fest. Because I promise you, when your 30s roll around, when your 40s roll around, you will severely regret not taking your youth and the time that you had right now as seriously as you probably should have. Be grateful for the fact that you have all this time ahead of you. Even if you're in your 30s and 40s, you have a lifetime ahead of you to finally go for the dreams and the passions and every little thing that you've always wanted to go for. You got time. And it's important not to be like me today, sitting back looking at the past saying, oh, if only I'd done this and that and this, I would have been so much further ahead. But I realized during my little moping session on Facebook that, you know what? I could sit here and complain about all the things I fucked up with or all the time that I wasted. But that's not going to do me any good, now is it? It's just going to make me more of a failure in the future. I can either sit here and mope, or I can get up, be a man, take these valuable life lessons, and finally go for the life and the dream that I so deeply desire. And I resolve to never take my time and my precious potential for granted ever again, because you only get one life. You literally only get one time around this spinning rock. And so you should be putting every ounce of attention into using that time to the fullest, because you ain't never getting it back, bro. Choose a dream and go all in on it as much as you can. The younger you are, naturally the better. You have as little responsibility as possible, so you have a lot more leeway. But even if you're a little bit older like me, right, realize it's never too late. It's only too late when you think it's too late. But if you grab your balls today and you say, you know what, I'm going for that potential. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make up for this saved time. That is what will make you successful. And despite the fact that people always talk about regret on your deathbed, only when you are dying and you're experiencing your last air of breath, right? Most people think that it's then that you'll experience that regret. But I personally believe that you experience regret at many stages of your life. And I'm testament to that. But this, my friend, is not a bad thing. It's actually an incredible thing to experience, because now you finally know what you don't want, so that the path to getting what you actually want is so much clearer. Without these regrets, without this pain of not doing the right thing, you'd never know what the right thing actually was. And so I encourage you today to still do your best to avoid the regrets. Really try your hardest. But at the end of the day, realize that we're all going to experience regrets, whether that's in our youth or in our older age. But that's a good thing, because it'll finally give us that kick in the ass that we've so long needed to get our shit together. Because I needed that kick for a long time. Let your regrets shape you, not break you.